Today is December 26. Ukraine Media Center Ukrinform continues its operation. My name is Vasil Samakhvalov. Our guest is Yurii Sobolevskyi, first deputy head of Kherson Region Council. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Yurii. The first question is what's going on in Kherson after a few days of very intense shelling? Was the humanitarian situation, was the mood of the population? Within the last day, the situation became a little bit better. The bloody day, the black day was Saturday for Kherson, for the whole region. Within the last day, we had 33 shellings. Fortunately, there were no casualties or injured. However, on Saturday, some people got very heavy injuries and the doctors are fighting for their lives. As to the humanitarian situation, the vast majority of the consumers are connected to water supply and power supply. The situation is a little bit more difficult with the heating. We have no way to solve the issue with the district of Ostriv. We still cannot connect heating supply to that district. It suffers intense shellings, and the best solution for that district is the voluntary evacuation. Generally, the situation is satisfactory in this regard over the region in general. Do you have any information about the injured? Do they stay in the medical institutions of Kherson, or are they being evacuated somewhere to Kyiv, to specialized medical centers, or maybe to Western Ukraine? And if you can give a few more comments about Kherson citizens donating blood on the very next day after the shelling. Well, the medical evacuation is going on a continuous basis, and the transportation of those people does not create any risks to their condition. And those who were injured during the shelling we mentioned, in some cases we will have to use medevac. As to the blood center, the reaction of our people is fantastic, and that proves one more time that no enemy can intimidate us with their acts of terrorism, because what we had on Saturday is clearly the act of terrorism. And yes, about the blood donation, there were crazy lines. People were coming from all over Kherson region just to donate their blood to help other people who were injured after that barbaric shelling. We have questions in the studio, please. Good afternoon, Olga Panasenko, Ukrinform. My question is regarding the operation of regional council. There was a meeting on Friday, and why wasn't it shown on TV? And as to the sanctions regarding Vitaly Beluk and Eduard Repelovsky, the collaborationist deputies, they were restricted from the meetings of the regional council. Is it the maximum sanction which can be imposed by the regional council, and why there is no talking about Danilo Repelevsky, the son of Eduard Repelevsky, and the brother of Alexei Kovalov, Yurii Kovalov? Good afternoon. Why there was no TV airing? Because it was only the first session of the regional council. I mean, the full-fledged session. We had Zoom when we were taking resolution on non-recognition of any referendum in Kherson region. That was on the very next day after the session, and that was the biggest meeting in Kherson and in other communities. Why there was no airing? Because we were working on the basis of another regional council, and that was a test session. In fact, we did it because we were not sure that we will complete the session. We had just a test connection, we had a quorum, and that's why we held it. We held that event, and the record of the session should be available to everybody. I don't know how is it technically possible now, but I see no problems about that. As to the deputies you mentioned, those are the deputies with regard to which there is a suspicion, and that's why there was a reaction by the regional council. We have more questions to way bigger number of deputies than you mentioned, and we're expecting for lawful legal reason, and when we will find it, there will be a proper reaction by the regional council. In continuation of the question of my colleague, as to the capability of the local communities and the regional communities, the regional council, theoretically there may be a situation when there is no quorum. Was the situation currently, was the humanitarian situation in the region, and was the situation with the manageability of those communities? There are many villages and towns, many communities who suffer destructions and severe damage. As to the deoccupied part of our region, in fact, the humanitarian support is available in every community. There is a situation is different in different communities. Somewhere the damage of or destruction of infrastructure is 60 to 70%. The orcs destroyed the power transportation substations or hospitals or other infrastructure installations. But Kherson Gas and Oblast are working on solution of those issues with the support of the military administration, because no business or no enterprise can currently fulfill those functions. There is a coordination with the state emergency service because of the need for demining. Also, the humanitarian aid is forwarded not only to Kherson but also to other communities, and there is something going directly to the communities, and in part the humanitarian aid is coming to Kherson and then being distributed around the communities, but that work is being organized by the military administration. As to the local governance in the communities, first of all, my opinion, I will tell you my opinion why the regional council session was necessary, is to express the policies of the local governance about the deportation of our citizens, about the pillaging of our museums, libraries, about the pillaging of our cultural values, and those appeals will be sent to international organizations, and it has a meaning for them, because we cooperate with them, we coordinate the activities with them. Their representatives come to Kherson, they inspect our museums, and they communicate with our specialists. That's why I'm sure that those appeals will be of help in terms of bringing the war criminals to liability, I mean the Russian Federation, and return of our cultural values to our museums. What is the demographic situation in Kherson and the region? Do people leave or are people coming back? Well, it's complicated, because after the occupation of the right bank of Kherson region, a large number of our people wanted to come back, actually, notwithstanding any risks, and we were communicating with them, the representatives of military administration and local governments. We were saying that the security situation is quite difficult, but now the tendency is for people to leave. Mostly people agreed to voluntary evacuation. Yesterday 250 people left. The day before yesterday it was 150. I'm telling you the approximate numbers, I don't remember the exact figures, but we track the number of people living on a daily basis. But we see that there is a number of people who agreed to the voluntary evacuation, who address the military administration for help. People sometimes live by themselves, but we cannot track it until they come to another region and get registered there as internally displaced people. Thank you, sir. Joining us was Yurii Sobolevskyi, the deputy head of Kherson Oblast Council, and who told us about the humanitarian and overall situation in the region. Thank you. Our next briefing will be at 1500, and joining us will be Alexander Staruk, head of Zaporizhia Region Military Administration. See you shortly.